What's up everybody, it's Jeremy here from Oceanbound, and I'm stoked because my wing dealer Phil from kitesite.net sent me a brand new V3 Duotone Unit 5 meter that I could demo. I currently own a V2 6.5 meter. I picked that up last summer for racing because I felt like it could noticeably go upwind like 10% better than my strikes could. I also love the handles, it makes tricks and transitions easier. I really like the unit, so it's been a personal dilemma for me over the past couple months on whether or not I'll totally switch over to a full quiver of units this year. I never ended up doing a review of my V2 unit, so I'm not sure if you'd even call this a review of the V3, more of an initial first impressions video after 2 sessions, but I did check out their website to see if I could figure out exactly some of the things that they've changed, so I have some info to share with you on top of my thoughts. A little PSA first. I just wanted to comment on something that I thought was cool. The Duotone website says that this product is climate neutral. Oh, really? Yes, stoked. But seriously though, I think that's cool. I'm not sure what other companies are doing as far as making like climate neutral pledges, but I'm happy that these guys are, and I hope that other companies do begin to do this. It's actually something worth checking out on their website. These guys have obviously taken the time to figure out many points in their system that could be improved upon as far as climate and social and environmental impacts go, and they're presenting it proudly on their website. A link below is in the description if you want to check it out. If it's a gimmicky thing to you, then obviously just ignore this, but I'm spotlighting it because I respect a company that's taking the time to do this. It has a little bit of influence over my buying, just a little, and I feel like I'm saving the world. Where's my cape? All right, so on to the product. Right off the bat, Duotone says the V3 has more power, better hang time, and better drift stability. In a video, they say the new dihedral, goes up in a straight line, whereas the older models had a more progressive dihedral that angled up more towards the tips. They say that the linear dihedral is more stable. They also said that they changed the leading edge twists as you go towards the tips, and I can confirm this. They definitely are angled down a little bit in this version, and I feel like the last version, the canopy was flared out a little bit towards the tips, whereas this one is straight or even comes in a little bit. You can tell when you look at like a top-down diagram of like the wing design. The strut, they said, also has a little twist in it too, but it looks the same to me when I compare the 2 different versions, even though they're 2 different sizes. Adding more dihedral gives it more progressive power as you pull in, kind of like an F1. But does that mean that, the upwind got killed? It's kind of hard to tell right now. I can't really compare a 6.5 meter V2 to a 5 meter V3 when it comes to upwind, but I did feel the difference a little bit more with the progressive power delivery. They say that it gives you more grunt. I personally didn't feel like it had a lot of grunt. So as I said, the thing that I liked about the V2s was their upwind. I feel like it came from the fact that the power is kind of more concentrated closer to the leading edge, and so can kind of pull you upwind more. Whereas like a Strike CWC, the shape of them is more beefy in the middle and goes farther back. So that's really good for light wind because it gives you more grunt and it gives you more that you can like pick up power with. Whereas the units I feel like are wider from wingtip to wingtip, and that just concentrates more pull on the front part of the wing. So it has more pulling power, it can go upwind better. Lighter wind, you want more beef in the middle to give you more power, more grunt. Upwind, I want a wider wing. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day and he was trying to decide between the V2 and the V3. The V2s are so cheap right now. He really wanted it to have a better chance to beat me in our summertime races. Bring it, Eric. And so for him in that situation, I would recommend picking up a V2 for cheaper. The pumping is still a little weird, but more closer to what I would consider normal. It feels different than my 6.5, but that is like 1.5 meters bigger. I'm not really sure why the V2s pumped a little different than most other wings I've tried. It's not necessarily in a bad way, but especially in light winds, I always felt like I could improve on something to make it a more efficient pumper, but I wasn't really able to figure out what that was. And in general, while pumping, I felt like pointing slightly downwind seemed to be the easiest way for me to get up on foil. The handles on these units are great. They give you options. Whatever it's worth, I've probably ridden mine about 24 times or more, and I'm still trying to figure them out. You can sneak your hands a little closer to the leading edge to like for that extreme upwind angle, and sometimes I feel like you can slide them back closer to the trailing edge. You can get more power getting up on foil, but really I found the most success for pumping is when my hands are directly in the middle. I haven't been able able to develop like a total intuition for it yet. You know, I haven't gotten to the point where I just don't have to think about it. And can I just say, there's something about doing upwind tacks with handles, hard handles. It just makes sense. There's less fumbling. You know, your hand just goes right to the right spot. Somebody told me that the handles have been upgraded this year. I guess there were issues on the V2 where the handles would pull out of the strut. I never experienced that, but I'm always down for more positive reinforcement. As you can see here, there are some minor differences, including instead of just a zigzag stitch around the handles, there's a zigzag with an extra border around it. I'm not sure if this is double layered like below this, but it doesn't seem to be. The first sesh I had, I swear I had it blown up too much, but I was feeling a bunch of stretch and flex to the canopy when I was pumping up to foil, so I guess I should have blown it up some more. I get nervous when I see companies recommend anything below 9 psi, and this one says 8 psi for the 5 meter. I'm pretty sure it was at 9 or more. I'm curious, whoever's watching this, you know, how many of you guys pump up your wings every single time to the exact recommended psi? I always pump mine up to 9 or 10. I just feel like they always fly better. The second sesh, I definitely blew it up more. I usually look at the leading edge, I see a fold or a crease somewhere, and I keep pumping until that's gone. This one I just kept pumping, but there were still folds and creases in the leading edge, but the thing was rock solid. It flew pretty good for being that solid. It definitely pumped better. Sometimes I feel like the leading edge is either double layered or just like a really thicker fabric. Maybe that's always in the middle parts, but as far as the folds go or the creases, maybe they're supposed to be there, or maybe the leading edge is poorly designed or poorly put together. But when I see a fold or a crease, it's only gonna flex or bend more on that spot. I remember I was winging with it and I was looking up at it and it was just tripping me up because I was like, is that a double ripstop? Is that a triple ripstop? And so here's some comparisons of the two versions. The leading edge is definitely its own kind of unique, elongated, like rectangle, double on one side, single on the other ripstop. The V2 has triple ripstop throughout the whole canopy. The V3 has triple ripstop near the leading edge, and then the rest is this, like, I think it's like 4x2 or 5x2 ripstop for the rest of the canopy. For months now, I've been hearing about how amazing their new canopy materials are. This Mod 3 wind-specific canopy material that changes everything. They say it holds the shape of the fabric with double the strength in warp direction, 3 times the stretch resistance in bias direction compared to the traditional canopies. But that makes me think, what are these traditional canopies that they're comparing it to? And I had to look on their website, but I finally found that they're comparing it to a traditional kite canopy. They also happen to say on their website that the wings are exposed to twice the load per surface area as compared to the canopy of kites. It makes sense in my mind. It's just really cool to read something like that. All right, so my second session was a proper wave session. We're talking side-off conditions, like waist to chest high waves, a little light at times, and personally, I wasn't feeling the grunt that they say that this wing has. The drift, though, was just particularly bad in the headwind. Can we just watch this thing for a little bit? I mean, side to side, sway, swing, swing, side to side. It's really weird, right? This thing was going all over the place. It was quite annoying. I found if you rode a wave more downwind, it would kind of level out and park better. But going maybe 15 or 20 miles an hour on a wave, kind of into a 15 to 20 mile an hour half headwind, it just didn't like that. So did I get a lemon? I guess not, because since I put that last session up on YouTube, I had a few people reach out in the comments saying that this hasn't been an issue with all of the Duotone wings. It's funny because I swear it doesn't happen with my 6.5 meter. So maybe it has something to do with its massive wingspan that like kind of helps it level out, or maybe I just wasn't surfing in like, you know, really strong winds. I don't know, but I did not know that this is an issue that Duotone riders have been dealing with. That's kind of a big deal if your wing flies around like that. It was definitely something that was distracting. I'm sure it gets less distracting as you get used to it, but it's something to think about if you like riding waves. They did say it was improved drift stability over the V2, so maybe if some of you guys that have ridden both versions can comment if this one happens to be any better in your opinion. They also said a higher wingspan, which is like dihedral, helps add to the drift stability. But as you can see, it's still a thing. The leading edge handle, now this is really nice. They call it better standoff, which means it just sticks out farther. And they say it's stronger. It seems to have like a hard plastic on the inside, which oddly breaks very easily. I could feel the plastic cracking in my hands, but it's still rigid after it breaks. And maybe that's by design, maybe you're supposed to break it in. But when you compare the two, this one is a lot stiffer, easier to grab. I do think it's better. When the wing is swinging, it made it difficult to enjoy it, but I feel like when you held onto that handle really hard, you could kind of reduce the amount of swing that it had. Using the front strut handle with one hand was a little better, but you could kind of, minimize the sway back and forth, but it was still happening. You can use your thumb to kind of keep the wing just a little bit powered, which is nice for stability and balance, and it's just nice to have a little pull when you're on the wave. When I'm riding one-handed on that strut handle and I have a little bit of power, I feel like I'm able to kind of loosen up my hips a little bit, and I like to ride like that. When surfing and you're one-handed on that strut handle, I feel like you kind of keep the wing a little bit higher, and I kind of park my F1 strike above my head a little bit like this. But for some reason, this Duotone it didn't really want to ride flat, it wanted to ride on its side, which I thought was a little bit weird, just an interesting observation. Another noticeable thing is I'm pretty good at keeping wings from flipping over and keeping the leash from extending fully, keeping it low to the water, keeping my hand on the wing all times when it's possible, but this freaking wing flips over constantly. Probably because the wingtips are curved in a little more. I was yelling at this thing at the end of the session. I'm sure it could change with a different leash, maybe a shorter leash, but it's just one of those things you have to devote a little bit extra attention to make sure it doesn't flip over, or just be prepared to flip it a lot. And for any of you that didn't know, Duotone does not provide a leash or a pump adapter for their possibly proprietary airport valve. This just irks me. If you're gonna have something that isn't really an industry standard, include it so people aren't frustrated with that. You can score one of their nozzle pump adapters on the street for about $7. So just remember to buy one if you're purchasing your first Duotone. And their website has wing leash links posted. They're either 4 or 5 feet. It's just, why? Why are they into this a la carte stuff? Okay, I'll move on. Different windows in this version. Their optimized window layout is their claim. I think the V2s are a little bit better because they're bigger, but these definitely give you a little bit more of a view farther back, but they are smaller. I don't use windows, and honestly the windows on this thing make it really annoying to pack up in general. The older versions were annoying. This one's about the same, if not maybe a little bit better. I can't figure out an easy way to pack this thing up. Jumping, it jumps fine. I would have to try it back to back with another wing to probably really realize that, but there was nothing noticeable in their design that made it a better jumper with more hang time in my opinion. Okay, so I feel like I went a little critical here, but overall, this is a great wing. It's one of the better ones out there that I've tried for a bunch of reasons. And I'm not feeling any drastic changes really from last year to this year. And some of the changes, only slightly lessen some of the reasons why I liked the unit last year. But these changes made it probably a more well-rounded wing for a lot of people. I think they're really good wings, and I'll definitely recommend them to my friends. And if the wings are not gonna get blown out like other wings, that's a huge plus. Time will tell if that works. If you're gonna get these strictly for waves, there are some things I found annoying about them, but I would highly recommend these for flat water because I love the way that you can do tricks, transitions, and everything. So what am I gonna do this year? I think I'm gonna keep my 6.5 Duotone from last year for racing, and then I think I'm gonna get some new version 3 strikes if they don't mess them up too bad. Probably like a 5.5 and a 4.5. I'll keep my old 3.5 strike just because I don't use it enough, but this is just me. Try all these wings yourself. Get to know what you like. I like riding waves, I like jumping in big winds, and I like racing. You may be into cruising or having predominantly light winds in your area. Listen to my words, make your own opinions. A huge thanks to my wing dealer Phil at kitesite.net for sending me this wing to demo and making this video possible. He's got tons of wing stuff, kite stuff, whatever you need, and can usually ship things out the same day. Check him out, go for it. Thanks so much for watching everyone. If you haven't already done so and you're curious to see what I'm gonna do next, please consider clicking that subscribe button. Drop a comment, let me know if you've ridden these things before and maybe have some tricks or tips on, reducing that swing that it has or maybe getting it up on foil. And with that, I hope all of you guys are doing well out there. I'll see you soon on the flip, and I wish you all an awesome day. Later!